A compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
Put in a good word for Yan Poklevsky. An unusual family arrived in a large Almaty Cossack village in September 1872. The family was unusual because its members arrived from Paris. Ivan Poklevsky, the head of the family, was a Polish nobleman and engineer. For some reason, he was appointed as a private Cossack soldier of the semi-rich host. The new homeland didn't welcome him so heartily. He looked at the small town situated between the mountains in bewilderment. Of course, having arrived from noisy Paris, he found Verny cozy in a way. Its streets were like chessboard squares. There were endless gardens, adobe houses, and a few stone mansions. There is supposition that he arrived in Russia in 1872. Although he was Polish rebels colonel and French army general, he was demoted to a Cossack soldier here in Semirechi. Yan Poklevsky was a skilled engineer, architect, and water engineer. He wasn't a slave to fortune, but rather he was its toy. He was half-forgotten hero of a tragic novel, which reached its climax in the city of Almaty. Kozela Poklevsky was a very interesting person. I'm really surprised at his tremendous ability to think technically. He left to construct Murgab Dam. When the dam burst, he shot himself. Chapter 1. At Full Gallop. It was in St. Petersburg in the middle of the 19th century. There was a swarthy young man with sparkling eyes at the Guard Sergeant School. Later, Yan received a gold medal for Military Engineering Academy. Revolutionary passions were running high there. In this engineering academy, he got to know many Polish students who were members of a secret community. The aim of that community was to overthrow the autocracy in Poland. All his life is categorized and put into folders which were made from special cardboard used in archives. Rok, Jakub, and Glebovich were his underground pseudonyms. It's interesting that Yan Poklevsky managed to receive a degree in engineering in Paris, although he didn't stop the preparation for the rebellion. He was an outstanding representative of the Polish uprising, which occurred in 1861. He even was a commandant of Revolutionary Warsaw for some time. When the uprising was suppressed, Colonel Rok was in Paris, where he'd been sent to buy weapons. As a result, he had to stay there. Being an emigrant, Yan Poklevsky mainly engaged in engineering. He participated in the Suez Canal construction and designed fortifications for La Rochelle. In France, he took part in the hostilities between France and Prussia too. In any case, he dreamt of coming back. His case is exceptional. One of the main rebels repented what he had done and asked for allowance to return as a resident. The emperor decided not to take him to court, not to deprive him of nobleman's rights, but instead to send him as a private to the Cossack host of the Turkestan military district. Since he graduated from St. Petersburg Engineering School, his experience was considered valuable for the border areas of Russia. As a result, he was invited to Turkestan and Semirechi to work on construction there. Ironically, one of the first places he worked on was Verny prison. The exiled engineer Poklevsky helped the government to save 22,000 rubles on the construction of the prison. Poklevsky was given a lot of assignments related to construction work. Although he carried them out quickly, he did not always receive monetary reward because he was on secondment and it was his duty to carry out assignments. In addition, it was considered that he received a salary from those he worked for. A Cossack's salary wasn't very high. They received only from 3 to 7 rubles. It was a very small sum of money, and it was impossible to provide for a family using this money. Private orders helped him. A year hadn't even passed when Governor Kolpakovsky offered to appoint Poklevsky as a local architect because he worked industrially. However, they found the engineer unreliable and didn't appoint him. In spite of this, Yan, or Ivan, was still happy. There was a connection between him and the small provincial town. The engineer invented an explanation for it. I've been connected to Turkestan for a long time. My ancestors, who became Polish, were from Asian expanses. The destiny awaited me here. I had to return to my ancestors' homeland in order to help my relatives to become involved in European civilization. Chapter 2. When the Peaks Are Low. After he explored the environs thoroughly, he understood that a long time ago there had been a civilization in the area where Fernie settlement was. His friend and colleague, architect Paul Gourd, told him about his archaeological research as well. In the 19th century, when Verny residents constructed some outbuildings, they used fire bricks. These fire bricks had been left by those who'd lived in the medieval town of Almaty. The medieval irrigation system helping in the beginning too. It was both a blessing and a curse because slops were dumped into the irrigation canals, laundry was done there too, and after rain they turned into swamps. Incidentally, Poklevsky solved the problem of water supply and conditioning in his house by making a pond in the yard. Soon, his example was followed, and an artificial pond with an island in the center appeared in the state-owned garden. Now, there is Central Park in its place. He changed the irrigation canal system too because he had experience of building the Suez Canal. He designed the main irrigation canal, and thanks to that, it became possible to make branches leading away from the main canal. As a result, Verny residents who lived in the lower part of the town were provided with water too. He cooperated with water engineer Lysenko on this project. The engineers took into account all the natural features, including variability in topography and the movement of water in the river. Strict rules of water supply were established. For example, in the evening, people watered their gardens and vegetable gardens, so it was important to regulate the water supply. Special workers called mirabs were appointed to control sluices. Of course, it took a long time to complete the construction because they lacked money. However, by the end of the century, the main canal of the town had been used. On Gord's initiative, another canal for sewage was built. There is no doubt the quality of water improved after that. According to old residents, they could drink water from the irrigation canals until the 1950s. It was the first hydraulic structure in the town. There were no wells or standpipes, and people could take water only from there. Elms and poplars growing along the canal remained green until the middle of October. There were tracery bridges across them, and they had concrete banks which previously had been made of granite. The main irrigation canal is a unique hydraulic structure. It's been in continuous operation for 150 years. This historic and cultural construction provided a huge area with water. It is one of Poklevsky's engineers' most lasting projects. Due to strange circumstances, unhappy fate befell not only upon the architect's many ideas, but also on himself. Chapter 3. The short life of his works. There were Verny mushrooms, carts full of dark red port apples, mountain berries, shark fins, local herbal tea, the secret of which was lost, and various herbs. It was noisy, bright, and had real Asian features. There was an area where cooked food was sold, a gallery, fountains, and irrigation canals in the inner yard. A circus tent was nearby, and posters for theatre performances attracted people's attention. This was what the famous green market looked like. Today we can see almost the same thing. It was Rafikov Merchant's order. However, no information about Poklevsky's project with Gurd's arrangement has remained. The favorite place of the citizens was respectfully called the Bazaar of the Honorable Merchant. Unfortunately, it was in operation for only 12 years, until 1887. You know, he wasn't lucky, because almost everything he built was destroyed in the earthquake. There were small rectangular pilasters and the minimum of ornamental stucco in the bishop's house. It was an impressive building consisting of 2 blocks and having a terrace and balcony. It was situated between Gubernatorsky Street, which is Kazakh B now, and Kolpakovsky Street, named Dostik, and between Balkashki and Kaznachevsky Streets. Poklevsky really built the bishop's beautiful house, which looked like an Italian villa. You can see it in the photos of that period. Yan didn't think that the earthquake which had destroyed his beautiful constructions was a sign of grim fate. The disaster hit the whole town. However, strokes of bad luck started befalling him before the earthquake even occurred. He had an iron foundry in Gulya, which was brought him a good profit. However, when Gulya and the Ili region were given to the Chinese, he lost it. After the borders were redrawn, he lost all his savings. He had problems in social life too, once in a conflict, an officers' club. A drunken serviceman insulted Poklevsky. Yan silenced the insolent man. The latter tried to cause a scandal, but Poklevsky left. Finally, the engineer was accused of insulting an officer whose rank was higher than his, and he could have been sent to the guardhouse. This decision was so unfair that the acting governor stood up for Poklevsky. However, the Turkestan military district had to protect officers' authority and issued Cossack non-commissioned officer Poklevsky with a reprimand for treating a lieutenant of the Cossack troops with disrespect. Mutual responsibility of the officers turned out to be great. A nobleman, French army general, and graduate of the Paris Engineering Academy was excluded from the Verney Officers Club forever. I've read in documents that they ridiculed Poklevsky to such an extent that he couldn't even go to officers' meetings. They treated him abominably and mocked him all the time. His joint project, aimed at shipping development with Yuldashev Merchant, ended in financial collapse too. However, neither lack of money nor debts prevented him from making grandiose plans. Incidentally, 100 years ago, Poklevsky was going to use wind power or renewable energy. He constructed bridges across rivers. They were hewn stone bridges, to be exact. In general, he had considerable technical knowledge. Formerly, he had some money. The engineer expected to receive compensation for his property, which remained in Gulya. Finally, he left Verney. He found the connection with Turkestan so close that he moved to western Turkestan. There he worked on a dam construction. However, the dam burst, and he committed suicide. Epilogue. In memory of lonely creators. The archive contains information about events of past and latter. Actually, unexpected details related to the story became known thanks to one of them. The dam really burst in 1890. However, researcher Sultan Urashev is confident that architect Poklevsky couldn't have committed suicide because of that. I work in the archives where I found a document saying that Poklevsky had owed the Semirechi treasury 550 rubles 12 kopecks and had to pay back the debt. In 1892, Poklevsky wrote that he'd really received this money as travel allowance. Thus, he wasn't killed, wasn't shot, he didn't shoot himself in 1890, but died a natural death. He was buried and unjustly forgotten. There was a strong connection between the architect Poklevsky and Almaty. The main irrigation canal is still pleasantly cool, and the pond situated in the Central Park of Culture and Recreation provides an inspiration for romantic walk. Although only a few of his works have remained, it's impossible to imagine the city without them.